This is the book of Psalms, chapter 37, and verse 19. And it reads, it says, they shall not be ashamed in the evil time, and in the days of famine they shall be satisfied. Isaiah 65 and verse 13. Therefore, thus saith the Lord power, Yahweh Shemel, behold, my servant shall eat, but ye shall be hungry. Behold, my servant shall drink, but ye shall be thirsty. Behold, my servant shall rejoice, but ye shall be ashamed. Behold, my servant shall sing for joy of heart, but ye shall cry for sorrow of heart, and shall howl for vexation of spirit. All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit, the Rakakwadash. And let the Hunger Games begin. This article is from political.com. The headline it reads, it says, it's just disappointment. Shutdown adds to farmers' anxieties. It says producers are struggling under weight of the loss of certain USDA services and lack of a bailout announcement. Okay, so the famine and the food shortages are coming. All right, part of the Lord's will and judgment is that he was going to break the staff of bread. Okay, it says the government shutdown is creating financial heartburn for farmers across the country. Check that out. It says the government shutdown is creating financial heartburn for farmers across the country, stalling the delivery of farm loans, the release of critical market reports, and the Trump administration's plans for cash bailouts. It says producers of row crops like corn, wheat, and soybeans have for months been weathering tariff uncertainty and high input costs for things like fertilizer and machinery, while hoping that President Donald Trump will open new markets for their products or send them financial assistance, as he did during his first-term trade war with China. The absence of those things in combination with the shutdown has heightened concern at a time where farmers need to start making decisions about how to pay for next year's planting season, right? So what you have is farmers have anxiety because they're not getting paid. Okay? It says every day, quote, every day that the government isn't open, there's slightly more anxiety in farm country, especially as growers are harvesting and having to pay bills and having to pay off their bank. Russell Williams, a Texas-based corn and wheat farmer, said in an interview, quote, there's serious risk of farm bankruptcies this year. Okay? So farms all over the U.S. can go bankrupt this year, man. Okay? Farmers are not getting paid, which is all going to tie into what? The shortages of food, the famines, people going hungry. It says Andy Jotman, a Nebraska corn and soybean farmer, said the pause in USDA's monthly agriculture data on harvest and supply is hindering his ability to make business decisions or anticipate market fluctuations. An Iowa Corn Growers Association chair, Stu Watson, said farmers in his state are seeing delays in payments they have been counting on for this growing season because of the closure of USDA Farm Service Agency offices. FSA administers disaster and conservation programs and provides farm loans, which totaled more than $5 billion in fiscal 2024. Man. It says Swanson said he is unable to access his USDA payment for land he put in a conservation program or his loan on grain until the government reopens, which means he needs to borrow money at higher rates from banks in the interim. Last point here, it says, quote, my payment is made in October and so far I have not received that payment because of the shutdown, Swanson said. Quote, so directly impacting my operation in terms of I have that in my budget and in my financial plans for cash flow, and I was going to use that money for purchasing inputs, both to finish this year's crop this year's crop and for next year. All right. So farmers are hurting, man. Okay. It's about to get bad. Right. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and verse 7. And it reads, it says, and when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, come and see. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. All right, because the Lord is getting ready to bring various forms of death and destruction to this world. It says, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth. All right, the fourth part of the earth represents Esau's dominion. Okay, Esau's world. Over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beast of the earth, right? So that hunger, that famine is getting ready to rock the world, man. Okay? With hunger, it said. Let me pull that up. To kill with the sword and with hunger.
Strong's G 3042. Lemas. Lemas.
All right, it says scarcity of harvest time, famine, which we just read. You see, spirit is heavy, right? 2 Ezra 15 and 1, it says, behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. All right, the words of the Most High of Yahweh Shem Yahushai are faithful and true, man. All right, prophecy is happening. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. All right. So we're in a time now where everything is moving so fast. Okay, we can care less if a nigga don't believe, man. If he want to scoff and mock and come against the scriptures. All right. Ultimately, that judgment is going to be on that person. Okay. It says, for all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, I will bring plagues upon the world. The sword, famine, death, and destruction, which we just read. Okay? That's part of the plagues. All right? The hunger, the famine. Okay? The food shortages. Let's get into it. Farmers grow weary as terror fight lingers.
So I mentioned earlier that this Wednesday I will be hitting the road in a series called Driving the Vote, talking with voters across the country about issues that matter most to them, all of it ahead of the November 4th elections. And as you know, a large segment of the country is made up of farmers, many who say their businesses have been affected by Trump's tariffs, like Caleb Ragland, who you see here. He heads up the National Soybean Association. He says that the tariffs have virtually slammed the door shut on America's biggest soybean market. And then you've got cattle farmers like John Boy Jr., who are up in arms with Trump's decision to import beef from Argentina. It is a hard time for farmers right now. Both Caleb Ragland, who's a Trump supporter, by the way, and John Boy Jr., a Democrat, they join me now. Appreciate you both, Caleb and John. I'm going to start with you, Caleb, because you're my buddy now. I was just on your farm yesterday in Kentucky. Caleb has the most beautiful farm. I had such a great time out there, and I learned so much. And I learned you've got all these soybeans. China buys the most soybeans. China has more pigs in the world than anyone else, and they actually eat soybeans, which is why they need so many. And how tough is it for you right now, Caleb?
Well, it's tough when you lose 25% of your market suddenly. And that's the reality of the trade war and the retaliatory tariffs that have came from China against our soybeans. Soybeans are America's largest agriculture export. We do a great job producing them, and the world uses a lot of soy. China's the largest user. They use 61% of all soy consumed around the world. And here in this marketing year, the soybeans are being harvested. We have not sold a single bean to China. And normally they would be purchasing robustly right now, right in the middle of our harvest season. So this is concerning, and we encourage President Trump and his administration, when they're meeting next week, to get some soybeans sold. We desperately need it. Yeah,
I mean, you're a Trump supporter, Caleb. Is it sort of an awkward moment because you support President Trump, but you were telling me yesterday out on the farm, I mean, pretty much all your soybeans are you're making no money. You're not going to make any money off any of your soybeans. So, I mean, how do you sort of handle that?
Well, at current prices, the average American soybean farmer will lose $109 per acre this year, which is a substantial loss. We depend on our farms to make a living, feed our families, and we we certainly have many issues during an election. President Trump's done some good things with some tax policy, with regulatory policy on some issues. He's also doing some things for biofuels to make them be used more here in this country, and that's a good thing for us long term. But we also need trade as well. It's a balance, and we need to get this figured out because agriculture is such a strong part of not only just rural America, but of the economy of this country as a whole.
Yeah, we all, sorry to interrupt you, but we all need you guys. I want to get John in here. Back to what Caleb was saying, that he thinks that President Trump has done some good things. Could this be like a short-term pain for sort of long-term gain? Do you think things are going to get better, John?
Well, it's tough. You know, we just watched the president give $40 billion away to Argentina and to help farmers there in Argentina. And they turned around and sold soybeans to China, like that young man just said, our largest market. That really hurts. And now he wants to sell beef to Argentina. We don't know what kind of quality beef they grow there. And some of the growers I'm hearing from, they said they don't want to hear about another dime going to Argentina. That the president talked about putting America first, and he loved farmers. And we just feel like that was a bad deal for America's farmers to watch that kind of resource.
Yeah, so like I've been talking about, a lot of these, so-called American people, understand that, the politicians, the president, whoever, all right, they don't have the interests of the people. All right, it's all about, selling America out. And this is why, Babylon is struggling. All right, as we just went in through here, going into the plagues. All right, the Lord said he was going to bring, over the fourth part of the earth to kill with the sword and with hunger and with death and with the beasts of the earth. Right, and that word hunger, again, going into the scarcity of harvest, famine. All right, scarcity of food, dearth, famine, and hunger, man. Okay, people are about to starve. All right, and that's the judgment of the Most High, man. All right, the Lord is not playing.
Leave the United States and to help farmers there, and won't help farmers here. And we would like to see the president work with Congress, the Democrats and Republicans, and open this country back up and put people back to work. And that's what we want to see. Right now, if you start to put more cattle on the ground, it's going to take between 2 and 4 years to get the population up. The last thing we want to do is to see that business need going somewhere else, like the China market went for soybeans. And also been raising our soybeans for 43 years. Farmers are hurting. Farm foreclosures are up. Farm bankruptcies are up. Farm suicides are up. People, this is a farm crisis in this country, and we need some help, and we need it right now.
What do you think, Caleb, about a...
All right, he said farm bankruptcies, farmer suicides. Man, this is all part of that anxiety, man. Because these farmers, they see where everything is headed to, man. Okay, they see the shortages and famine coming. And just like the Lord said he was going to break the staff of bread, let me get that too. All right, this is Ezekiel 4 and 16. It says, Moreover, he said unto me, Son of man, behold, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem, and they should eat bread by weight and with care, and they should drink water by measure and with astonishment, that they may want bread and water and be astonished with one another and consume away for their iniquity, right? So I had to pull it up here in the chat, just to give some depth here, right? Same verse, Ezekiel 4 and 16, breaking the staff of bread. So it says, I will break the staff of bread in Jerusalem. Staff symbolizes support or sustenance, like a walking staff that holds someone up. To quote, break the staff of bread means the Most High is removing basic support of life, the food supply. In context, this refers to the siege of Jerusalem by the Babylonians, when famine would strike the city's inhabitants and would be left desperate for food. See? It says, parallel precept, Leviticus 26 and 26, and when I have broken the staff of your bread, 10 women shall bake your bread in one oven, and they should deliver you your bread by weight. This shows that, quote, breaking the staff of bread is a form of judgment, where food becomes scarce due to sin and rebellion, right? And that was part of the plagues, as we read, all right, in Revelation 6 and 8. Scarcity of harvest, famine, right? It says they should eat bread by weight and with care. By weight means ration portions. There won't be enough to eat freely. With care, i.e. with anxiety and fear. See that? That's heavy. With anxiety and fear. It says with anxiety and fear reflects the constant worry over whether there will be enough for the next meal. This symbolizes famine and economic collapse, food so scarce that people measure every morsel. And people are not ready for that. Okay? Especially the gluttonous American, you know? It says they shall drink water by measure and with astonishment. Water will be strictly rationed, symbolizing drought or siege conditions. With astonishment means shock and despair. The people will be amazed and horrified at how dire their situation has become. Cross-reference Ezekiel 5 and 16. When I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine, and will break your staff of bread. God repeatedly warns that disobedience brings famine and loss of security. Whew, man. It says, yeah, so we'll go back here. Yeah, so that's the point. All right, so let's go back into the videos here, right? Because hey, you don't want to perish by famine, right? I was just thinking about that. Lamentations 4 and 5. They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger. All right, so it's better for you to perish by the sword than to perish by hunger, famine. For these pine away, stricken through the want of the fruits of the field, right? Because your body literally pines away, eats itself away. All right, and that's a horrible judgment to undergo, man. But that's the judgment of the Lord that's getting ready to fall upon America, man. You see? For the sins and transgressions, right? Let's play this one too. Let's add some more to that. Rancher issues warning as Trump pushes beef imports. Alarming rate of loss.
All right. Well, farmers are feeling left behind as President Trump looks to import Argentinian beef to help bring down prices for U.S. grocery shoppers. New inflation numbers out yesterday showed the price of beef is up nearly 15% since last year. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt looked to quell the fears of America's cattle ranchers this week at the podium. Watch this.
President loves our ranchers and he also loves American consumers, and he wants to do right by both. So the immediate solution to the problem of the rising cost of beef, President wants to bring that down as we have to increase our supply. And so that's what he's doing with respect to these imports.
Let's bring in our CAF USA CEO, Bill Bullard. Bill, welcome thank you for joining us this morning. So let's start with this. How many beef, cow, calf farms and ranches are we losing to bankruptcy every month?
Well, we've lost over half of all the cattle operations that were in business just over a generation ago in 1980 are gone today. And in the 5-year period from 2017 to 2022, we've lost another 106,000 of them. Excuse me, they're included in that. That's an alarming rate of loss in an industry that is so vital to America, producing a very important protein staple, and that's beef.
I want you to hear what Secretary Brooke Rollins has to say about this. I mean, she's basically, well, I'll play the clip and we'll talk on the other side.
Currently, Americans consume 12 million metric tons, 12 million metric tons of beef. 10 million we produce in this country, 2 million we import. And this is not a new thing. We have long imported the ground beef, sort of the leaner cuts for American consumers. So 12 million total. The Argentinian piece is only about currently 20,000 under a tariff quota.
So So, Bill, she's basically saying we've been importing beef all along. So how is it that you think that this addition of the Argentinian beef will impact you and your market? Which, by the way, I should say, ranchers have had a few pretty profitable years, kind of rare, but it's been pretty profitable the last couple of years, right?
That's right. But for decades, U.S. ranchers have been unable to compete in the marketplace because they've been unable and not allowed to differentiate their product with a country of origin label. And the beef packers, the highly concentrated packers, 4 of which control 80% of the fed cattle market, have been given unlimited access to imports around the world. This has flooded the U.S. market for decades, and it has rendered our producers unable to maintain their herds, let alone rebuild their herds. Our industry has been shrinking for decades, and we've hit the historic low in 2022, 23, and now, and that's because a drought has accelerated the ongoing decline of the industry, and that has exacerbated the supply situation. But adding more imports to an industry that has suffered as a result of excessive imports is the wrong thing to do. Even though Argentina is a relatively small percentage increase, it's an increase above the record beef imports that we've had for the past 2 years that have displaced domestic production, displaced domestic cows, and driven cattle ranchers off the land. So we need
Yeah. So you can watch the rest of that. So you get it. All right, let's go back to 2 Ezra 15. All right, this is more of the plagues. All right, this is 2 Ezra 15 and 12. Egypt shall mourn, and the foundation of it shall be smitten with the plague and punishment that the Most High shall bring upon it. They that till the ground shall mourn. All right, this is going into the farmers, the agriculture, man. All right, these farmers are in mourning. They're not getting paid. They're not producing. They don't have people to maintain the crops. You know, this is a time of mourning, all right, for these farmers and the people. They that till the ground shall mourn, for their seed shall fail through the blasting and hail with a fearful constellation. All right, so products are not being manufactured, man. The shortages are coming. All right, these are the plagues, the judgments. Okay, the Lord said again that he was going to break the staff of bread. All right, people are going to go hungry. It's about to be a very, very heavy time. You know, this is from the Collapse News. Collapse.news. Government shutdown jeopardizes air travel. SNAP funding hangs in the balance. Let's play a little bit of that as well. All right, because people are panicking over the SNAP. Over 40 million something Americans are not going to be able to have the benefits, you know, not be able to feed their families. All right. So this is all tied to that scarcity. All right.
Over 41 million recipients of the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, also known as SNAP, could lose food stamps by November 1st, next Sunday, a week from today, as funds for the critical program are set to run out as part of the shutdown. The Agriculture Department says they are not able to use $6 billion of contingency funds during the government shutdown. And any state that covers expenses on their own will not be reimbursed. News Nation's Alicia Nieves joining us now. Alicia, good morning. Walk us through what this means for millions of Americans.
Yeah, I've been following this closely for a week now. And for the first time, we are now hearing the USDA explicitly say here that there are going to be no more SNAP benefits. This well, as the USDA says, it runs dry come November 1st, less than a week from now. SNAP benefits, I mean, they provide low-income Americans with money usually loaded on an electronic card to purchase things like food and groceries. Eligibility, of course, depends on factors like household size and income. And in a post on its website, the department says the well has run dry, directly blaming Senate Democrats, accusing them of blocking funding 12 times while holding out on issues like health care that Republicans say is, quote, for illegal aliens and for gender mutilation procedures. But politics aside here.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right, the well has run dry. All right, and here it is. They got the money to feed the people, but they're using it elsewhere. All right, we just saw in the video, 40 billion going to Argentina. All right, they want to use money to go to, surgeries and just madness. This place is over with, man. Again, this is about to be like a time like no other.
This decision impacts, as we pointed out a moment ago, over 41 million Americans, most families with children, older adults, people with disabilities, and yes, many working families. Some of the hardest hit states are states like Louisiana, Oklahoma, New Mexico, Oregon. They have more than 15% of their population depending on these food stamps. More than 200 House Democrats have urged the agency to tap into those billions of dollars in emergency funds here to prevent this funding gap. But the USDA, as you point out, insists those funds aren't legally available to states or to them, and that states that try to cover the cost themselves, these states will not be reimbursed. But got to point out, questions linger. If the administration was able to reappropriate funds to pay the military, why is it unwilling to do so here? Either way, the clock is ticking. 41 million Americans in a couple of days from now may not have this food assistance and may not even have food on their table, which is a scary thought.
That is terrifying. There is a new Republican bill. It was
Man, let's go to let's think about that Job. All right, Job 5:19. This is Job 5:19. He shall deliver thee in 6 troubles, yea, in 7 there shall no evil touch thee. In famine he shall redeem thee from death, and in war from the power of the sword. Thou shalt be hid from the scourge of the tongue, neither shalt thou be afraid of the destruction when it cometh. At destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth. For thou shalt be in league with the stones of the field, and the beasts of the field shall be at peace with thee. All right, so again, the Lord's elect are going to be preserved from these troubles. Okay?
introduced on Friday to fund SNAP during the shutdown. Do we know what happened there?
Yes, the Republicans introduced this bill, but like the shutdown, it really hasn't gone anywhere here. It's being called the Keep SNAP Funded Act, and it would let benefits continue until the USDA gets funds, fully funded when this government shutdown ends and things resume. It's gaining support from House Republicans. One Republican, even on the show yesterday, brought up the broader issue here, Rep. Dan Newhouse. Just take a listen to what he had to say.
SNAP program is a much larger program that the Department of Agriculture just does not have the money available to keep that open without the government being open. So I'm very concerned about that. Again, the Democrats vote against keeping the government open at least twice a week, and then they immediately go to the microphones and complain about the government being closed.
Yeah, the blame game continues here. Democrats, for their part, they aren't backing this bill. Many still arguing, again, the USDA already has a tool to avoid the funding gap, even without new legislation. But so far, no agreement, no actions, kind of a stalemate here. And these are American lives being leveraged in this political kind of back and forth in D.C.
Hopefully we'll get better news tomorrow around noon.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, there you go. So we're going to just continue to watch and see. All right, it's getting ready to go down. Shalom.